Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. And today I want to talk about the All-Star cards. And the reason I want to talk about that is because I had a beautiful conversation with Mike Moynihan, baseball collector, about All-Star cards and how reasonable they are for Hall of Famers. And kind of went through a whole history of the All-Star cards on a podcast that we did. And I'll link that in the description so you can go ahead and watch the entire conversation. But I just kind of wanted to recap real quick and just show some of the cards that I did show and some of the cards that I didn't show in the show. So you can go ahead and watch that and watch this as a little bit of an update, I guess. So basically the All-Star cards started in 1958. That's the first year that Topps created the All-Stars. And the regular cards from 1958, they just had plain color background, dark color background, either a red or a blue or all different greens, all different colors. And they look like this Kluzinski. And the backs, look like that. But during the high series, they came out with the All-Star cards. And what they did was just basically go ahead and just put change the background, and they added there the 58 All-Star Sport Magazine All-Star selection with the white stars. And the back has that. I'll show you the backs. So it's a little bit different than definitely different than the regular cards. But they're really, really nice cards of Hall of Famers. And they did the American League and the National League. So you see the difference. The American League was the red background with the white stars. And the National League was the blue background. And they kept that theme for many, many years. And so I shared some of these 58s. Next year was the 59s. And the 59s, the regular 59s were like this. That's the base card of the 59s. And then again, at the end of the high series, they started with the All-Stars. And these were a little bit different, and the All-Star cards, you see they're high number 553. And what I like about these is they put like a little cartoon in the back, see? Cepeda was unanimously voted 1958 Rookie of the Year. And this is a 59 card, so it's the second year Cepeda. And the funny thing is that if you look at the prices, and that's one of the things that we discussed, the prices are a half or a third compared to the base card. So, that's another thing that that you can do and get a very affordable card. So again, what they did was they made the blue, and they made the blue for the National League. I mean the red for the National League and the blue for the American League. So I'll go through some of these that I didn't get to show there. And this is the Cepeda, Ken Boyer. These are all pretty much minor stars. And I didn't pull out all of my graded stuff because it's just a lot. So, and that's some of the American League. And they had a lot of Hall of Famers, including Casey Stengel. And I think this is the last card in the set. Pretty sure that is it. It's Nellie Fox, Aparicio, Skyron, and Billy Pierce. So you see how they did it every year. They kind of made it, changed the stars and changed the look a little bit. This has more of a kind of like a medallion type thing, where this has more of a kind of like a home plate style. Still has the eagle here and the eagle here, but just a different style for the American League and National League, where they didn't do that in 58. So that's 59. 60, I didn't pull out my 60. Mike Moynihan pulled out all his 60s. I just had some comments somewhere around there. And 61, 60 was the first horizontal one, and you have there the Willie McCovey. And then 61 was the one that, again, the high series that is a Sporting News, and I don't have a sample of one here. Mike showed that on the podcast, on the live stream. But it basically has like a, similar to the 70s, that has like a newspaper, and they're coming out of the newspaper, and it's a Sporting News, and that's what the 1961s look like. So after the 61s came the 1962s. So let me see here. I'll show you a little bit, a few more of the 59s here. So as I showed you earlier, this is the Warren Spahn, the regular Warren Spahn, and this is the All-Star Warren Spahn. And if you look at the prices, this one here is almost 3 times more expensive than this one, and it's the same year card. And you're still a Warren Spahn, and that's a high number. So that's the Warren Spahn. That's the Hank Aaron, and you can get these really relatively cheap for 1959 Hank Aaron. I mean, you know, we talked about that, and here's the Willie Mays. Still beautiful cards. It's not their main card, but it's still issued the same year. And there's the OK line. So that's some of the 59s. And moving on to the 62s. The 62s, they still the Sporting News, but they changed the look of it a little bit, and they made them like this, a little bit more plain. And you know, I like this. To me, it's not as busy. Some of them are a little busy. The Stars is nice too. It's a little busy for me. And this also just has a lot of stuff, and I just like these All-Stars cards because they just look, you know, pretty plain, but they look nice. So that's the 62. They came out with these. And you know, if you compare to the regular card, for example, so here's a regular Hank Aaron card, right? And here is the All-Star card. Same year, same thing. This is these are high number cards, a little higher number. And this one, let's say in a 6, it's about $300 card. This one is about $100 card. And you know, it's a Hank Aaron, a young looking Hank Aaron, looks beautiful. And that's really what we talked about when we talked about the difference. And not all of them are like this. Now you may say, well, this is nice, it's got a nice portrait picture, but you have others that are not that way. And I showed an example. For example, if you look at the Frank Robinson, you know, it's almost the opposite. It's the batting pose, and then the portrait pose is the one on the All-Star card, more of a portrait. So these are the All-Stars, and again, they did the same thing as before, where they put the National League in blue and the American League in red. And that's really the only change, and it just says the Sporting News American League All-Star. That's the Whitey Ford. And the backs, this has a whole write-up on the player. So, and they're beautiful cards, and they're relatively inexpensive. You can get this Willie Mays for about $100 versus the other Willie Mays or the other Hank Aaron. This the real card set. Here's a couple more here. You know, and again, the color changes on these are nice for that year. And a few more. I showed, since I have a lot of the whole 62 set, I just showed the whole 62. So these are a lot of the 62s. So after that, for some reason or another, they stopped producing the All-Star cards. From 1963 all the way on to 1968 to 67, they didn't produce anything. And then in 68, they produced these All-Star cards, another horizontal All-Star card. And again, these are very, very inexpensive. You can get these, you know, pretty cheap, and they're still beautiful cards. And these have a puzzle on the back, which they started here in 68, and they ended up doing that later on in the years, and I'll show some of those later. So the 70, I don't have any of the 70s here with me, so I'll skip those. And we're gonna move, 69s, I'm sorry. I don't have the 69s, we're gonna move on to the 70s. So the 70s, you know, the regular cards were like this. You know, that's the Marichal card, 70 Marichal card. This is from the set that I pulled from packs when I was a kid. And that's what they did with the All-Star card. Again, a similar design to the 61 All-Star, but just a pretty simple look there. It's very, very similar to the 61s. So that's what they did. And you know, the good thing about those is you can get some really, really inexpensive cards. I mean, this is a second year Reggie Jackson. Second year Reggie Jackson. And you can get it really inexpensive. And look how young he looks. And again, these are high numbers, and these are nice because they have like little cartoons in the back. Reggie Jackson says all-time homer marks for lefties in 69, and then it says, I broke my own record. So very, very nice, inexpensive cards of the top Hall of Famers that you can get for just a few bucks. Now these 1970s are extremely difficult to get centered. For some reason or another, you know, I pulled a lot of these out of packs myself, and I kept the best ones, and there's very few that I have that were centered, so I haven't sent any of these to get graded because they're all off center. But they're nice because they have the cartoons in the back, and that's what they did in 1970. Now, after that, they stopped creating All-Star cards again. In 1971, they didn't have any All-Star cards. 1972, they did not have any All-Star cards either. What they did in 72 was they extended and made the biggest set they've ever made, almost 800 cards for the 72 set. And what they did was they create, you know, instead of having 2 cards of some of the players like this, where they had Marichal here, what they did was, of not just the All-Stars, they made a regular card and then an inaction card in the higher, usually, well, no, this is not the high numbers. They did it right after the card, I think. Yeah, 309 and then 310. Yeah, that's how they did it. So it seems like almost every All-Star and like half of the league, they made the regular card and the inaction card. So I don't know, maybe that's the reason why they didn't do any more of the All-Stars. And they didn't do All-Star cards again until 1974. And they started with these All-Star cards. And these were dual All-Stars. So they did Brooks Robinson and Ron Santo, the third baseman, the pitchers, the second baseman, left fielders, first basemen. So that's the way they did their All-Stars, by doing it that way. And again, they went back to, in some of them, and most of them, they went back to the puzzles in the back. And And the puzzle in the back of this, is a puzzle of Bobby Bonds, MVP for the '73 All-Star game. So that's neat. Then it has the picture of him here with the rest of the backs. So they kind of changed what they did in for the All-Star cards back in '74. And then they really didn't create All-Star cards after that. What they ended up doing was they just ended up putting in '75 All-Star on the card itself of the player. So now, you know, it was just the player, and if he was an All-Star. And as you can see, they did the same thing with the colors, where they put the American League and the National Leagues in the blue and the red, and that's and here's some of them here. So you see here some of the National League stars in red, Johnny Bench, Steve Garvey, Joe Morgan, and then you have American Leaguers and Carew and Carlton Fisk with the blue. So that's what they did in '75, and then and then pretty much from then on in '76, they did the same thing, where they put the All-Star on the card of the player themselves, and these are nice, you know, with the colors and the line there. And they did the same thing, see, where they put the National League All-Star and American League All-Star, the same as they did the previous year. They just kept the theme the same. They just put it in yellow instead of in white. So they went ahead and did that. There's Thurman Munson, and that's the regular card. So I wanted to show you what the regular card looked like. There's the Eckersley regular card. And then the All-Stars just had that on there. Now, the other thing they did is they created all-time All-Star back in '76. The all-time All-Stars, and they still kept that Sporting News, and they made a subset of all of these guys, from Babe Ruth to Cy Young to Ty Cobb and so on and so on. And it's nice because it has all the stats and information, elected to the Hall of Fame, 1936, and all that stuff back there. So you know, so these are inexpensive ways, and that's basically what our talk with Mike was, inexpensive ways to collect Hall of Famers that really anybody can afford. You know, all of these cards I'm looking at, all these All-Star cards, even from the '60s and '50s, you can pick them up mid-grade for $100 or less. And then the next year, you know, basically they changed it up a little bit. So the regular card, you know, so this is the '78. Oops, the camera on that. That's a '78. That's what the backs look like. So that's a '78. And then for the All-Stars, they did a little All-Star, like a medallion All-Star here. And that's the Yastrzemski card. And that's the George Brett. And sometimes they would put the medallion here, and on some of the cards they would put it on the top. And there was no rhyme or reason to that, but they did that. Here's the Reggie. I love that Reggie card. And then again, they did the same thing with the colors, but they just switched them around, where they put the National League, again in red, American League in blue, but they switched the colors on the bottom also. So anyway, guys, just wanted to share a little bit of history on the All-Star cards, the tops created over the years, and how they change throughout the years, and why through some years they didn't make any All-Star cards. If anybody can let us know why from 1963 through '67 there were no All-Star cards made, you know, or from '71 through '73, you know, please put that in the comments. gonna try to find out. So thanks, guys. Thanks for watching, and check out the conversation that Mike and I had. You know, it's never enough time talking to Mike. He's such a great guy. You know, it just it seems like we only talked for 15 minutes, and we went on and talked for probably an hour. We talked a little bit more before and after the call, but hopefully we'll get to do it again. So thanks a lot, Mike. I truly appreciate it. And everyone, have an awesome day. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. I'll catch you on the next one.